Hi everyone, this is Pavan from SDT channel. In this video, I'm going to discuss about some important interview questions on regression testing. Now let's get started. The first question is, what is regression testing? So basically, we perform regression testing on bug fixes to check other functionalities not affected in the application. So whenever the developer is provided the build, so the build contains the new features along with the bug fixes. So the bug fixes, in the sense, whatever the defects or bugs we have identified in the previous build, we reported them as a bugs to the developer. So the developer will give fixes for those bugs. So we can call them as a bug fixes. So normally every build which is provided by the developer to the testing team contains a new features and also bug fixes. So as a tester, I need to verify the bug fixes. Along with this, there should not be any impacted areas because of those bug fixes. That is basically called as a regression testing. The next question is, what are the challenges you face during regression testing? So normally what happens is when you perform regression testing, every build we will get from the developer, there should be some bug fixes. So as a tester, I need to spend some time on regression testing every time in every build to make sure the bug fixes are working fine or not. And because of those bug fixes, there should not be any impact on another functionality. So when you do these things every build, right, so it will take a lot of time and effort. That's a major challenge, especially when you work on the agile environment. So sprint cycles are very smaller and it is very quickly should happen. So in those cases, regression testing, conducting the regression testing is a become very challenging thing. Okay. Now the next question is, can you please tell me how you pick the test cases for regression testing? So normally the regression testing means the bug fixes, right? So when you perform the regression testing, we have to choose some of the test cases. We can call them as a regression test suite. So in the regression test suite, we need to have some test cases which are belongs to the particular module where the changes are happened. So the bug fixes, wherever the bug fixes are done, so on that particular module we need to mainly focus, and those test cases we have to choose. Apart from this, we need to also choose some other set of test cases. Basically they are related to the impacted areas. Suppose the developer has fixed some bug, and we will choose the test cases to verify that bug. Apart from this, we need to also check the other functionalities, like the dependent functionality we need to verify. So we need to also choose the test cases which are related to the dependent functionalities. The next question is, what are the things you do or consider before going for regression testing? So whenever you start regression testing, first we need to check our regression suite of test cases, and all the test cases are covered as part of regression testing or not. And if there are any changes are required, so we need to also make some changes on the regression suite, and let's review them and go for the regression testing. So that's the main important thing. So the next question is regression testing done either manually or automation? So we can do regression testing either manually or automation. But the thing is, regression testing means we have to conduct every time whenever we get the new build from the developer if it contains some bug fixes, right? So if you do manual testing, what will happen is in every build, you have to spend some time and effort to perform regression testing manually, right? That is again repetitive task. Same set of test cases you have to execute again and again each and every build. So wherever the bug fixes are happen. So that is again tedious task for us if you do manual testing. And if you go for automation, the advantage is as soon as the test cases got passed in earlier build, if you automate them, in the coming builds, in the next coming builds, we can easily execute our automation script to make sure regression is working fine. And rest of the new functionalities we can test manually. So that is a preferable way to go for regression testing. So we can do either manually or automation, but automation will be preferred, especially when you do regression testing. Now, the next question is, what is the best time to perform the regression testing? So here, whenever there are some changes happen in the build or module, and suppose when you report some defects to the developer and developer fix those defects, and those defects, those fixes will impact some other dependent functionality or areas. So we have to test them. We must test those areas. So here, the best time in the sense, as soon as the developer has changed something, we have to conduct the regression testing. So that's a main criteria. And if there are no changes, because it will never happen like this. Developer keep on changing something on the build till we get the last cycle, till we get into the last cycles, right? So keep on, developer will need, you're adding new functionality sometimes, and sometimes the new functionality also may be impacted on the existing functionality, right? So sometimes developer also do some bug fixes. Even the bug fixes also will corrupt the existing functionality. So as soon as the changes are happened, we need to perform the regression testing. So the best time, in the sense, as soon as we get the build from the developer, we conduct the regression testing. So the next question is, what is the difference between regression testing and retesting? So most of the people will confuse here the basic difference between regression and retesting. So let us talk about the retesting. So retesting means testing the same component again and again multiple times with the different sets of data. Suppose the developer is deliver some feature to the application, or that particular feature or scenario test, I want to test it, and I have some set of data and I have conducted some testing. It is done. So again, suppose the developer has made some change on the same thing. Again, in the next build, if I want to execute the same test case, that is called as a retesting. So regression is also include the retesting, but the regression testing, we should also mainly focus on other impacted areas because of those bug fixes. So retesting means we can execute the same test case every time with the different sets of data, or in other words, we can say retesting means we can execute the same test case again and again in each and every build. So retesting, we have to conduct the testing again and again. When you come to the regression testing, the main focus on changes, like because of new features or because of bug fixes. If there are any impacted areas, we have to also test them. So that is basically called as a regression testing. So regression is also, retesting is inclusive in the regression testing, but the additional main intention of the regression testing is we need to more focus on impacted areas. So that is called regression testing. So the next question is, why do we need the regression testing tools? So as I said before, regression testing is always a time consuming process, and we need to put a lot of effort, because in every build anyway we will have a new features and some bug fixes will be there, definitely will be there. So we have to conduct the regression testing on this. So when you do the regression testing manually, it will take a lot of effort and time in each and every build or every cycle. That will be again wasting of time. So as soon as your test cases are completed or passed in earlier builds, if you automated those test cases by using automation tools, in the coming builds, next upcoming builds, you can execute those test cases using automation tools. And rest of the test cases you can test manually. So that will reduce a lot of time and effort for you. So that's the reason we need testing tools, especially when you perform the retesting and a regression testing. So the next question is, suppose, especially this question will get by the experienced people. Let's say suppose you have some 5 years or 6 years of experience. So any guess on percentage of getting high priority, medium, low priority bugs for any project? So normally whenever anybody asks this kind of question, we cannot directly say exact number, but we have to just assume like this. You can just guess some number. Let us say like a 10 is to 30 is to 60. Suppose 10% of high priority bugs, or 30% of medium priority bugs, and 60% of low priority bugs. You can say some kind of number or percentage like this. So whenever you get this kind of questions, we cannot say exact number, but you have to remember some kind of percentage based upon your previous experience and based upon your previous projects. Okay, so that is all about this question, guys. All right, so that's all for this video, guys. Thanks for watching.